So I set this in the vise. I hold my rod off to the sides. I have a rod that's a little bit longer than my part, and I hold it in here and I clamp it tight. Now, oftentimes when we make parts, we hit down the part to make sure that it is seated on top of the parallel which we put in here. And this time, I don't want to do that on the first side and the second side in this process, because I want the back solid jaw to be the one that's the reference, the one that everything comes off of. That's the critical part. If the first two steps are not perfectly 90 degrees, I will have a parallelogram that is smaller than the parallelogram I started with. Okay? My sides will be parallel, but they will not be square. I don't want that. That will make scrap. So, as in any previous videos, we follow the same processes for milling, and that would be to set our quill stop to the stop, and we lock it. We need our speed figured out. We turn our spindle on. We adjust our speed per calculations that we've done. Okay? And then what we're going to do is move and align so we are in line with the center of this. We have a big enough cutter that will go across and machine the top of this in one pass. And the first cut, the first and the second side, I only want to take a minimal amount of stock off. And what I mean by a minimal amount of stock is I just want to take enough that I can see that I've actually cut this surface. No more. Okay? We'll take it down to size on the third and the fourth side when we're making it parallel. But in this case, all I'm doing is taking it down to touch off and just skin the surface a little bit, all right? So here we go. Turning it on, using my knee, raise it up. Just come over my part a little bit. Come up till I just touch the part. Remember, I only want to take a minimal amount of stock off. So I need to go slow, listening, looking. There it is. Just made a little mark. Okay. So now I can set my zero out the dial on the knee. So I can keep track. Now I'm going to take just about 2 or 3 thousandths and hope I clean up there. I'm going to mill across. It doesn't matter whether I use a carbide cutter, which this is a carbide insert cutter, or a high-speed steel cutter, as long as it makes a nice finish and it cuts very well. Alright? So, I'm looking at my material. I'm going to come back around nice and slow because I can see that it cleaned up all the way. Now, that's my first surface. Now, right now, if what is on the solid jaw was truly a flat surface, I would be square with what's on the back jaw. But since I didn't cut the back jaw, cut the material that's on the back, I didn't cut that face yet, it actually isn't square, it isn't flat. So, this is only step one. This should get me a flat surface up here. So, I need to take it out. What I highly recommend that you do is mark, permanent marker on the end, a 1 on that surface. And the reason I mark a 1 on that surface is so that I remember which one I did first. Okay? Now the way this is going to work is I'm going to take that surface I just machined and I'm going to rotate it to the solid jaw. That's going to be my next step. So what I can do is then mark which one. I made two little lines. Two lines so that I know which should be the second side. And then the third side, I will flip it, always turning to the solid jaw. Always turning to the solid jaw. So right now, I might as well mark 3 lines, flip it around, 2, 3, 4 lines. Okay, so now I know which is which. And I keep this on the right-hand side so I never turn my part around this way next time because it'll mess things up. So what I always need is consistency in order to maintain the accuracy that I'm trying to do. So, next step obviously needs to be what? It needs to be deburr. So I need to deburr. So I go 45 degree, all 4 sides. Anything that's not deburred properly will cause me to be not sitting flat on this surface when I put it to the solid jaw. So I always, after I do 45 degrees chamfers on the edges, I always lay flat on the surfaces in case I sometimes make a burr come back up because I put the chamfer. Clean it off. Make sure that my parallel is cleaned off. Same parallel. I'm going to need the rod again. Okay. Same parallel. You need to make sure that the marked end is on the right-hand side. Here's the surface I just cut. Rotate it to the back. Make sure my parallel is clean. It is. I set it in. Okay. Now I take my rod. I set my rod in. Same way as the first time. And now what I'm doing is putting all of the pressure, clamping pressure, again on the solid jaw on the back. Make it tight. Now I repeat the steps that I was just doing as far as machining this. Now, just because I touched off the other side and I cut only a few thousandths off, doesn't mean that this part was the same size. It should be close. But if the manufacturer who supplied the raw stock gave me some poor quality or out of tolerance material, I could end up wrecking my cutter, busting the inserts, or making my part too small. Because remember, step 1 and step 2, minimal stock removal. So I'm going to have to lower my table so my cutter goes back up in the air again. I'll turn it on. I need to come over. And again, touch off, just like I did the last time, because I only want minimal stock removal. It's probably going to be really close to the same size as it was, but there's no guarantee. It might finish that up. There we go. Touched it. Zero out my dial. Give it a couple thousandths more. 3. And now let's cut. Now remember, these chips are hot. When they land on your skin, they burn immediately. So you might need a little shield to help stop the chips from hitting your face. Safety glasses is guaranteed must. So I'm making a nice cut along here. Looking good. I think I'm cleaning up again, same way as last time. Off the edge. Oh yeah. Just what we're looking for. So let's come back. Now I don't want to go too fast on my return, even though I'm not cutting, because I'll make big circle marks that won't look as nice. And if I'm quite often and most of the time, this would be the only finish that's going to be on this product, and I would need a nice finish. All right, so stop it. Turn on the brake. Spindle stopped. It's clean. Alright. So we're going to take our part out And of course, the first thing we do when we take it out is